The market has changed. I mean, seriously. Okay. So number one, we're dealing with an insanely high market. Number two, we're dealing with the transition is happening. So as I'm sharing my screen, someone want to share all the contributing factors to why they think the market is shifting.
Well, I think there's a lot of factors. One is look at what's happening to the stock market. So people are afraid. Two, look what's happening to the interest. So again, people were either afraid or they're now they can't qualify anymore at 6%, where they could qualify at 2.5 or whatever. And then of course, when that rumble starts, that goes throughout the community and it makes things change. So I think there's a lot of reasons that it's changing, but I still have that one listed up there at 55th and Dunlap. And 2 months ago, we would have gotten $375 for that property. No problem. And we were about, 4 weeks late. He was about 4 weeks late contacting somebody, getting it on the market. And now he's declining everything that's under, he hasn't accepted an offer yet. So I finally talked to him this weekend and got him to lower it a little bit, but we're still at $359.9, and that's still too high for the market that we're going into. So he's got a good solid offer at $330. I think I'm going to tell him, what good does it do you if it sits there and you get into a market? So now the offers are coming in at $280, $275. So so I have seen the shift and felt the shift in the market with this house for sure. Because usually they don't stay on the market this long. And it's getting shown like crazy. It got shown 4 times yesterday.
Yep. Okay. So shown, so you definitely have the activity, but it's not there. And then the offers are coming in, but they're coming in lower. And lower. And every day that it stays on the market, it's not going to help. Yep. So that's a perfect example. Remember back in the day, one of the hardest conversations, and that's the ultimate purpose of this meeting for all of us, is to how to communicate, how to accomplish what's needed for our clients, to be the expert, to be the guide. And some of it is going to be hard because right now we are entering a period that most of us as agents, unless you're, let's see. I think, Dad, you and I are in the minority. Everybody else has been a realtor since the 80s. And I think it's last time you encountered a market remotely that's going to be this weird and difficult was the 80s. Truly. I could be wrong. But I don't think anything in the 90s quite compared. I don't think. So, and the 2000s, we had the fall, but that was so different, right? Are we all kind of in agreement there?
Yeah, it was different, although I think we could be heading in that direction again. I think it could take a little while to get there, maybe 6-8 months, maybe a year.
Yeah.
But
are you saying to get to the fall, Ruth?
I think so. I think we're going to see that happen again where, houses start going back down again. And I don't know.
That's prediction number 1. So, okay, perfect. Here we got it. Okay. Thank you, Ruth. That was the perfect segue. Predictions. Okay. So before we get into this, okay. So Ruth, you're saying we are going to have would you call it a decline, a crash, a leveling off? We have these different degrees. So prediction up front. What do you think?
I think it's going to be more than a leveling off, but I'm not sure that we're going to have a big decline because it seems like, whenever the country goes into recession, Phoenix is this own little entity because we still have people moving in. We still have businesses being built. There's a ton of new food restaurants coming into the Valley in the next few months. My in-law is opening all the Fazoli's back up here. So that's still happening. People are still moving here. So as long as we have people still moving here and lots of them have cash, that we've been seeing that, lots of them have cash, coming from California or wherever that they've sold their home.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to level and decline a little bit, but I think some parts of the country are going to see a big decline.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Phoenix is going to quite see that big of a decline.
So small decline. That's what you're predicting.
I think so. A small decline. Yep.
Okay. Marilyn, what do you think? Next 6 months?
I'm really not being that active. I don't even watch that closely anymore. I don't exactly know what happens when you go into a recession either. And then we're coming into one. What does that really mean?
I like it. Fred, what do you think?
Well, we're seeing an increase in inventory. That has a definite effect.
Uh-huh.
So I think that Ruth is correct. We're going to see a small incline due to more inventory, due to higher interest rates.
Well, yeah.
Less people being able to come into the market. I think we're going to see a little bit of decline.
Mm-hmm.
Small decline. Okay. Perfect. What do you think, Dad?
I think it's going to be more than a correction. I agree with the idea that Phoenix and Arizona has its own environment, but our environment often includes ways to cut our own throats.
Right.
And one of the things that I see happening is that the prices are dipping, and now several of the new home sellers are offering commissions again.
Yes.
Trying to get us back on board. So that's part of the issue of Arizona and probably the rest of the country, but especially in Arizona for we who are here, is that it's a love-hate relationship with realtors. So whenever people aren't standing in line, for some kind of lottery to get a lot, then they reach out to the realtors, and we're kind of like their last resorts, but we kind of help them. We more than help them. That's one thing. The second thing that I see is that they're still not building too many more houses fast enough. So we have this reputation of California flooding to Arizona, but I think the flood is almost over from California. And I think it created an interest in Arizona, but the housing, there's nothing to buy that's going to be affordable, especially now that they raise the rates on us. Because, by raising it 0.75%, you've almost increased the payment by a third, and that really kills the new home buyers. And most of the houses that are being built are small homes. They're not luxury homes. They're entry level homes. So that's what I think. I think it's going to be bigger than a correction. I don't see it crashing like in 08, 09. But I think we need to have a caution flag out for our investors. To be diligent.
How are the appraisals coming out?
So far, I haven't heard much about appraisals not making it, but there's I guess there's the startings of rumblings is what I'm hearing, but I haven't heard anybody that's had, like, let's say 4 of my last 8 haven't appraised. I haven't heard that story yet. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let's kind of dive into it, because I wanted to start with a little history so we could kind of see where we've gone and come in the last six months or so. Okay. So as you can see, this is December 2021, okay, which was published in January. So this is basically the year-end recap 2021, okay? So you can see on the right there, sales were up in December, 2.8 month over month. That's not normal, right? Year over year, though, they were down 8.8%, okay? Now, does anybody remember kind of what the discussions were at the end of the year? there was a lot of talk of what was going to happen, right? Wasn't there a lot of talk of potentially raising interest rates several times this year?
Yeah.
The different tax stuff because of like the Biden tax plan, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like there were a lot of rumblings. What's going to happen? So you can see that year over year, we were already impacted to the tune of what? 800, that's almost 10%, right? So we started the year, let's call it conservative, you know, okay? So fast forward to now. Hey, Mom. Oops. Okay. So here we are, six months later. Okay. Sales are down 5% month over month, 9% year over year. Okay. So here we are, May, which would be a prime spring selling season. We're wrapping up a prime spring, right? Because May is when it starts to heat up. So this is like the last of our period time before we can go. So here we are, year over year, 9,000 down 900. Okay. So December had more sales than May. Down and down. Okay. Now, historically speaking, you can see we were at 9,000 last year. And then you could see that we were at 9,000 going into this. So does 82 seem a little bit low just in general for the Phoenix area? Sorry, Dad. You guys need to get closer to Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah, because you have 4 or 5 million people in the whole valley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You have 8,000 sales. That's just, I mean, there's a reason. I mean, we don't have the inventory to sell, number one,
Mm-hmm.
and then people, until they get burned a couple of times, losing out on a possible sale, didn't offer enough to begin with until they got desperate.
Yep.
And so, yeah, it's pretty low for our population.
Yeah. Who knows? Okay, so let's kind of put this in perspective. What was the lowest inventory you guys remember seeing, or lowest amount of sales you ever remember seeing recently?
Oh, shoot.
The lowest I remember seeing was about 7,500 in a month.
Yeah. I was going to say 7,000. So that's about right.
And that was a long time ago. And the population has done nothing but grow since then. So I think that this is the start of something low. Okay. So let's go on to the next one. New inventory. Okay. New inventory was down 21%, but year over year, 1.6. Okay. So December, wrapping up new inventory, 1 point, that wasn't down very much, but new inventory, 6,200. That's always kind of low we're always low in December to begin with. Okay. And you could see from November, October, right? That was kind of the peak of when people list, and then we slow down right up until the beginning of the year, and then we creep up again, right? So you could see in October, it was right around 10,000 new inventory. Okay. And you could see right around here, it was what, 8,500. So even year over year, starting in October, we were already very low. We were starting to dip in inventory, and we've done the same drop, historically speaking. So this wasn't anything wacky per se. Would you agree? Last year, December, nothing terribly wacky.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
Okay. So new inventory, 6,200. Okay. Look at the difference between last year, this time, and this year, this time. There's quite a deviation between our behavior last year and our behavior this year. What do you think about that? Inventory is up 13%, but year over year is what we're really talking about, 21% new inventory. Mom, you're going to need to get closer. That mic is not the best. Sorry. Okay, now I guess you're going to need to move and put your head right in front of Dad's.
Is that because of the new builds?
I don't know. What do you guys think? Because we were mentioning earlier that there's not even enough necessarily new builds either, per se.
I think that it has more to do with everybody hearing that they got these tremendous prices and putting their houses on the market.
That's
We had a new flood. We had a flood of people that had these houses and wanted to make their gold, you know.
Yeah. Well, look at that stair step since December. Literally, look at that. December marked the lowest, and then kaplop. That's literally a step and a step, and we're now on our third step.
But the gold isn't as valuable anymore.
That's
it's,
right.
It's going to be on the market for a while.
There we go. So this is new inventory. So if we've had that influx of new inventory, naturally, what's going to happen to our total inventory? Okay, so last year, okay, we were at the drop, right? Kind of because everybody was scared. So there was just a halt. So you can see we were down 11% total inventory, 12% almost year over year. Okay, so you can definitely see that people were a little hesitant to make a move. In total, I mean, to list their home, right? Well, or call it what you will. Kapow. Our total inventory year over year is what?
And sellers are usually, well, buyers and sellers are usually about 4 to 6 months out as to trends that the realtors are picking up on. And so they're still thinking they're going to get these high prices. And unfortunately, they'll often just hold out until the price drops more. And in a situation like this.
Well, that's what Ruth's going to be dealing with, is how do you get ahead of this now?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, so total inventory. I mean, literally, December, 8,000 homes. Right now, almost 14. Okay,
Yeah.
so if you're a buyer, let's say if you were let's say you're helping buyers out, because hopefully you have your entry level people, you have your move up people, you have your relocation people, you have your people that need to move down, whatever it might be. So you always have that motivated group that are going to have to do something. What is one good note that you can tell them right now? Sorry, Dad, I can't hear you guys when you're back there.
The prices are beginning to correct, but it's not going to be huge.
Well,
So-
not necessarily dealing with prices just yet, because we'll get there definitely. But what's the good news here? I mean, if you're going to spend having total inventory now at 45%, if you're a buyer, what does that mean?
Buyer market potential.
Sorry,
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're-
Josh,
There's more inventory.
there you go. Selection.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have a better selection than you've had in how long? When was the last time we had 13,000 total inventory? You know what I mean? At our lowest inventory, what do you guys remember?
around 5,000, wasn't it?
Less. Yeah, it was in the low fours.
Yeah. It was, yep.
Yeah, sorry, Fred, you were asking something?
No, I was going to say, even though it's a plus 44%, our inventory volume is still not that great. So
Yeah, but the buyers don't need to go there just yet. That's not, they don't
Well, I
need to know
understand.
that. They need to know right now it's better.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. We're going to definitely get to that. But if you're going to spin something right now in this moment, that's one thing you could spin. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, you have a better selection than ever. How you handle, is it going to get even better than this? That's going to be another battle, you know. But as of right now, good news. Okay. So, but sellers, yep. Here's the flood. Look at that. Whoop. That's what do they call that? A hockey stick or whatever you call it?
Yeah.
Whoop. Okay. So if total inventory is that, obviously we have our, this is the biggest flaw we have in the MLS system right now, is what's truly active versus what's not. You have your coming soons, your CCBSs, and your UCBs, right? Are those truly active?
Well, no, well,
No,
No.
they're already under contract. So even if somebody loved that home, they can't necessarily just arbitrarily cancel one contract and come over here.
yeah.
Technically, right? So that means the truly active, and I gave this away. Oops, my bad. Okay, last year. Sorry about that. Last year, okay, truly active. Okay, and this is the flaw here. Look at that. 8,000, they say, but when you remove all the other extraneous wrong, you're really left with 5,700, right? So from 86 to 5,700. So we're really wanting this 5,791. Okay. So December coming into January, 5,791 truly active homes in the market. We are looking at 10,508 truly active homes right now.
Yeah, that's still really low for us.
Yep. But notice that steep curve. What do you think?
Are you saying that 10,500? I thought it said active UCB, so they're not truly available.
Yep. Yeah, like right now, if you go to the MLS, right, you're going to deal with, let's say we bring in the CCBs, UC, okay? So right now, if you include, according to the MLS, this is how many active homes we have. Okay. But literally a UCB and a CCBS is not active. It really isn't. It's really misleading. Remember kind of like the short sales back in the day where it showed, the market showed that there were 80,000 active homes, but realistically there were only 40, because half of them were already under contract. That's the point. So yep, if we remove it, that's literally 4,000 homes gone. So right now, and this was going to be my next point, just since this report, okay, this came out, I mean, they've been putting this together for the last 20 days. So in just the last 20 days, we've gone from 10,000 all the way up to 12,500. That's 100 homes a day.
Well, I always kind of keep a tab on my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
I told you about that great big one that's for sale down at the end of my street. It's been on the market 87 days. They just lowered it from 850 to 835. There's one that's back on the market. So could that be an appraisal issue? Maybe. It's listed for 475 or 476 or something. It's 1,800 square. Could have been an appraisal issue.
Good man.
It could be, could be a home inspection issue. You never know.
Yeah.
And like 2 or 3 more that are active, but now they're starting 28 days on the market, 37 days on the market. They're not 1 or 2 days on the market anymore.
Yeah. Well, like right here, you could see it. Okay. It was like one day people just woke up and it just like last time. One day it was like our phones haven't rung today. What's going on here? This is it. I mean, look at this. So last year, trend. So we were right on track. Trend. And then we woke up one day in March, end of February, beginning of March, and said, things are different. Wham. Right. And here, this is even more. This shows it even more. I mean, literally, look at that. Right there. We sellers woke up one day and said, let's list our home. And buyers said, I'm still scared. Interest rates suck. Down payments still suck. And I'm not sure I want to do this. Would you agree?
I think a lot of it, or some of it, has to do with the financing issues too. Because I remember that Mom and I were doing a refi on part of our home here, and in March is whenever we were able to lock it in because everything was getting ready to begin moving up, even if it was just a quarter of a point or something like that. But I think the financing part put the fear in, and then people wanting to make all of this money. But let me share with you what I've also noticed is that a lot of these buyers are have split into different trusts now. These mega buyers, you have the well-knowns over here that are saying that they'll buy whatever, whatever they say they'll buy it for, give you full price and all that kind of stuff. And yet they're opening up other parts of their organizations, and it is thought that it is with the idea that if we do a crash, this holding company that's buying will be able to potentially bankrupt,
Take the hit. Ouch.
take the hit, flood everything back onto the market, and their other holding company over here, same company, they grab it up, and it's almost a picture of what happened in 2008 and 9. That they're all set up to do these big buys and to rob the market of inventory for the general public.
So that's a huge statement, because that's because you're talking about obviously like the Blackstones. You're talking about the I mean, are you talking about the Blackstones, or are you talking more of like the Zillows and the Realtor.coms and the Open Doors? Like, who are you more talking about?
Yeah, I don't know who it is that I'm really talking about. They're just talking about the big buyers, and like a lot of the people like Zillow began to pull out a little bit a year or two ago, but we're coming into this situation with the muscle memory of the last crash that used words like short sale that nobody had ever heard of, really, and so they're coming into it with the idea that they have some leverage now. So what happens if we begin to crash over here? They're getting all set up to buy back in the same company. And but they've done that with every other business. I mean, they're just doing the same thing with real estate, I'm thinking. So I think that part of what we do as realtors is that we begin to educate our people. We have to educate our buyers, that this may be the best time to sell. It's always the best time to buy, but it's probably the best time to sell. We won't have to say, we might remind them that the market has kind of, been reduced a little bit as far as value over the last couple of months. But boy, that's, like I said, I know that there's a correction coming. In my heart, I'm thinking it might be somewhat powerful. I don't think it's going to be the big crash. But when you see all these other companies getting positioned to buy back, that tells me something. That's a warning.
If you can, next time, like when you come across those articles, start forwarding them to me, because you're kind of on a different part that I haven't necessarily heard about and know much about just yet. But that's what we've been keeping our eye on, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, which we'll get to, because this is so fascinating. Okay, so we see this where, I mean, literally active listings, 5,700 to over 10,500. That's literally, that's almost double. I mean, that is literally almost double the active listings since December. That's insane. Okay. And then if you actually go to what's truly active today, we have more than doubled since December. So that says something about the activity, about supply and demand. The rise in supply is definitely outdoing demand. No doubt about it, no matter which way you cut it. Okay, so this comes down to the months of inventory, and I did it again, darn it. Okay, so here we go. According to this, and this is, Dad, where you really see the flaw in the MLS in action. Okay, so can somebody break out their calculator really quick?
I've got one right here.
Perfect. Okay, so that month we had 5,791 active homes, and 8,814 sales. So 57, what was it? 5791 divided by 8814.
91 divided by 8814 is 0.657.
Okay. So at that point in time, if you take a 5-week month, we had 3 weeks of houses. Okay. So well under what they say here. I mean, it's either which way you cut it, at less than a month's inventory. But when you're talking about barely half a month's worth of inventory, you know, that's the epitome of a seller's market. Okay. There's not enough inventory. All right. Well, now here we are. June or May, technically, according to this, up to 1.68. Okay. So why don't we actually take the amount of inventory now? Okay. So we've got 13,870, which is what they say, but let's actually use our MLS number for today. 12,550. Okay. And we had 8278 sales last month. So what does that mean? I can't hear you, Mom. What was it? Still can't hear. Can you move the computer over or whatever? You've got the weirdest mic, Dad. I'm so sorry. 1 point what?
1.51.
Mom, I think you need to move your head about like 5 inches over to the left.
Okay, 1.516.
Perfect. Hear you fine. That's perfectly clear right there. 1.516. So we're up to a month and a half. So we went from barely half a month to a month and a half. That difference is almost 3. I mean, that's more than doubled month supply.
Okay.
Okay. So are we, what's the historical numbers we use? How many months supply is that marker where we're officially in a normal market? Can't hear you. And Ruth, Fred, Marilyn, feel free. Doesn't have to be parents.
I'm just listening.
Me too.
I sorry, I still can't hear. I'm so sorry. That mic is just terrible. Mom?
2 to 3 months. Is 2 to 3 months considered normal?
3 months. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
3 months is like the agreed upon. 3 to 4 months. That's the happy window. When you get above 4, you start getting into the buyer's market. Above 5, you are in a buyer's market. Below 3, you know, you're definitely in a seller's market. So to go from 0.6 to 1.6, that brought us pretty significantly on our way to a normal market. And if you add in the 2,000 homes that came in the last 20 days, okay, how would you factor in that? Because that's pretty darn significant. That means by the time the next month's thing comes out, we're probably going to be, 100 homes. That means it's going to add 3,000 homes in 1 month, probably.
Well, it's going to be a win-win for the buyers because they have a selection now to begin looking at.
Yeah, selection's going to be good, but as a byproduct, if people know that there's a flood of homes out there, buyers are going to be like, yay! They might hold off. Okay, but what's that going to do to the sellers? If you hear that, oh my gosh, the supply of homes is going up dramatically, as a seller, what goes through your head?
Oh, I better buy now before it gets higher.
Well, sellers.
Oh, seller, I better put it on the market. Well, no, they're going to wait.
One of the two, probably, right? When that's the first thought.
Mm-hmm.
So that's two different ways. we're either going to see an influx of listings because people are going to still continue to sell, and it's going to take a while for that word to get out, and you're going to see here in a second. Next, once that word gets out, it's almost going to be like a shutoff valve as far as listings go, because people are going to get scared. And then we're going to see a real weird thing happen. Probably that's my prediction as you'll see as we come up closer. So a month and a half supply, still definitely a seller's market, no matter which way you cut it, seller's market, right? But here we are with December. Look at this. This is crazy. New list price, $430. Okay, December, $430. Okay. Now here's the funny part. Okay. If you look at a year prior, okay, $329, right? So $329 to $430. All right. Basically $100,000 right on the dot, right?
Yep.
Okay. Now ready for this? Just 6 months. Ready? Okay. 500,000. Okay. So it's gone up significantly, right? 430, so 70,000 in 6 months. So we've gone up way faster than last year. Okay, as far as new list prices. Okay. Now follow me here, because this is where it ties in. Sales prices. Notice that 430, 427. Okay, so list price to sale price within 1%, easy, right?
Yeah, so it's not where people aren't bidding way up above anymore.
Well, in December, they were basically paying asking price, for lack of a better way of saying it. Basically asking price, yeah. Right?
I think that, yeah.
Right now.
Yeah. Well, I think working with buyers right now, the big deal is going to be the interest rate. But I think it's going to go up again. So, if they have the need to buy, this is probably time to do it.
Yeah. It basically went from asking price to a 5% discount.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right.
What about that?
What's that, Dad? I'm sorry. It's move the computer over just a little bit towards you. Yeah.
Can you hear me a little bit better now?
Yep. Perfect.
Okay. If somebody comes in having sold their house, like what's happened here in the last couple of years in California and other states, they come in with all of this money. They either pay cash or they buy down their mortgages. For the average person in the area, they don't have that kind of money to buy down.
Yeah.
But is there a buy down? Is that still a possibility for? I mean, can you buy down? I've never heard of anybody buying down lately. 0.75%. They usually divide it up into eighths or something.
Yeah. Well, you're talking what? It's the equivalent of a point as a percent. So you're going to spend what? $4,000 just to save yourself, because it was one thing when a point was $900, $800. It's totally different when a point's $4,000. You're not. I can't hear you again.
I thought you were buying down an 1/8 to 1/4% instead of a whole percent nowadays.
Well, but that's what it breaks down to, though. Like it's a percent is a percent, and you're buying down percentages fundamentally. If somebody's buying a $250,000 home, no matter which way you cut it, a point is going to be way more affordable. Because a 0.5%, 1/8%, or whatever it might be is just right now we're talking, and that goes back to the barrier of entry, affordability. If this is your average home, and that's literally what we're dealing with. This is your average home right now. Your average Arizonan last month spent $475,000 for an average home. Okay. What's a median home? $1,800 1,800 square feet. What would you describe as your average median home here in the Valley?
Yeah, 1,600 to 1,800 square feet, 2-car garage, 3-bedroom.
Yeah. So you're talking what, $300 a square foot?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
that's
three and a
crazy.
half Yeah. And so 3.5%, you're talking what's the most affordable somebody can get into an average home today? Let's call it $15,000. So you're looking at what, $22,000, including closing costs for an FHA loan, 3.5% down.
That's insane. So what you're saying, Josh, then is that because this just seems like, just, an out of, way out price for the median family. How do they afford it? And how do they afford it with the increase in interest rates? So it just seems like, people are starting to panic now. So they've got their house for sale, but yet at the same time, you've got, are we looking at like these people influxing from California and Montana that have the money that are going to be able to buy these homes up, but yet for like, say, the regular Arizonian who wants to maybe move up in their home, how on earth do people afford this?
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. They
Well,
can't.
that was yeah, oops. What was it, Ruth, a couple weeks ago? What were we talking about? Average Arizona salary luckily came up. So we're looking at $63,397 is your average annual salary for a person in Arizona.
Right.
So fortunately, while prices have gone up exorbitantly, fortunately, we've also maintained being one of the top 10 in rising income in the country as well. Thank God. But it's still insane. If somebody do the numbers, like if you have the security agent app or whatever it might be, what does $63,000 afford you?
Well,
Okay.
so they're $5,250 a month. So what's the lender requirement that a fourth of that can be used for housing?
I thought it was like 30%. Like,
Okay.
yeah. What's that?
So that would put them at, $1,600 for housing. They can't even rent a house for that.
No.
Which comes back to the families coming back together, the dual incomes, the roommates, the I don't want to call it a co-op, but where you're dealing with more people living together in general. You know what I mean? For affordability. Were you saying something, Dad?
Yeah.
The multi-generational home.
Gen X homes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's happening and I mean, even the cities are saying, okay, let's give everybody permission to build a casita in their yard.
Mhm.
They're just trying to figure out a way to make it work.
Well, that was the family on Friday. They self-admittedly said they have a son that's never leaving. So that's part of the reason they like that casita.
Yeah, you bet.
So, but here's where we could tie this back into the market, because it's one thing to see that 475 and just take it as a snapshot. But as we saw, the discrepancy between purchase price and the list price and sales price has gone up dramatically, right? But you could see it's also gone up dramatically. We're up 10% essentially in value this year since the beginning of the year. Do you see? Actually, it's not a question of do you see, it's when do you see that with this supply happening, with this sales happening, going down, when do you think this is going to, oops, wrong one. When do you think we're actually going to see the sales price go down or level off? When do you predict that's actually going to happen?
What do you think?
I think so.
Okay.
I think in the next 3 to 6 months, we're going to see that happen because, like I said, I always keep tabs on what's happening in my neighborhood. And this is the first time that I've checked it, that I've seen houses on the market for that length of time, and open house signs I'm seeing again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just that the interest has gone up. It's that people like us that have investments set aside for retirement, half of it's gone. I mean, I don't even want to, we don't even look at it because so much of it is gone. And, you know, people that have to drive for their jobs. So some of these new factories are going out in Buckeye and Goodyear and, you know, far out Glendale. So people got to drive there. Gas at $6 a gallon. So now their $1,600 that they can afford in a payment has been reduced when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas pump, when they go to take money out of their 401k, and they're going, oh my gosh, you know, my money's gone.
Yeah. I think
So
that's the long-term repercussions too, that we'll see that's the moment, when the going's good, while the going's good, what is it Warren Buffett said? It's not until the tide goes out that you see who's swimming naked.
Yeah.
That's one of the, I think soon, you know, while the going's good. But the moment somebody has, let's call it their next life event, are they going to have the extra income or the savings? And then the moment that happens, we'll see what takes place. That's what I fear. Everybody's going to get spread so thin because of inflation, because of just everything, that we're not going to have. That's again kind of getting to where we're going to end up with, you know, my prediction here too. Okay, so sales price forecast. You can see in December they were predicting a small increase. Keep in mind, guys, this isn't year to year. They're saying by next month they thought it was going to go up $3,000. Okay, this isn't a year-on-year thing. This is next month. Okay, so they said it was going to go up almost 1%. Okay, we beat that. Obviously, we went up 10% in 6 months. Okay, so we actually beat this forecast for December for January as it's going up, right? For the first time, and I'm talking in years, they're predicting no jump. Okay, but notice, okay, this is still going up as far as the average, because that's the stupid part, you know, but they're with median prices, they're thinking that it's actually, this is it, guys. This is it. This is the MLS predicted. We are leveling off for the first time in years.
Yeah. It happened fast. It happened fast.
Very. I mean, look at that. I don't think we were all predicting this, but this was insane. Whoop! I don't think anybody predicted that steep of a curve happening so fast, but it's the perfect storm between everything we talked about, between interest rates, between the stock market, between gas prices, between just generic inflation, between supply chain. I mean, you name it. It's all added up. The freaking crap going on in Russia with all the gas. I mean, it's the perfect storm. Would you guys not agree?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So here it is. Sorry.
I don't think people saw it coming. And, you know, the feds are just trying to stave off a recession by raising the interest rate. So I'm not sure how successful that's going to be.
Well, they slowed down the market. They succeeded.
Yeah. Yep, they slowed down the market.
But here's the distress part, Mom, and this is what I think a couple people already hinted at. Okay, so this is December. All right. Now, distressed residential properties. This means people are not current. This does not mean they're getting foreclosed on. This does not mean anything definite. This means they're in the process. Okay, so 733, 6 months ago. Right now. Now, that's not a large number for Phoenix by any stretch of the imagination. But does anybody else find it interesting that it's up 30% in 6 months? I mean, technically speaking, that's 30% compared to where we're at. What's the better way to do it? Because technically from 730 to over 1,000 is almost 50% of that. I mean, 40%. So is it up 40% or 30%? Which one is it?
Oh,
Dad, I can't hear you. Sorry.
It's everything to the person who's distressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But year over year figure, it's up 14.9%. Okay. But just since the beginning of the year, it's gone up significantly.
Yeah.
All right, so does this go back to what Dad alluded to a little bit ago about that you've got like these big mega companies who their overall plan, is that to pick up these properties and, set it all up for us to begin another short sale event?
I would brush up on your CDPE, Dad.
Yeah, well, it's back on the market. They actually went, they closed down but got sold. So the CDPE is back on the market again. But the idea is get out there and look for houses that aren't able to be kept up. But I guarantee you, all of the well-known, well-organized mega buyers have reps in every single place where mortgages are recorded and updates are recorded, to go and to try to buy out these people who are going through difficulties. Out of that 1,000 distressed properties, let's say that 1,000 of them go to the possibility of a repo. Let's just say possible. It's
All of
right.
them? Yeah.
How many of them will actually get to the market because of those mega buyers? Because if you remember last time it happened, the government had to step in and say, step aside mega buyers, let's give nonprofits and
Needed 2 weeks. Give it 2 weeks before they were able to make an offer. Yep.
yeah.
10 days to 2 weeks. Exactly. Yep. Give the average Joe a shot. Exactly.
Now,
But-
this is a silly question, but I often wonder if, the powers that be, because when you look at the situation, because short sales back then, that was a joke. They did not have in place, what they needed. And for those of us that tried to use the system the way it was designed, is it maybe the government's way to try and make up for the goof back then?
I don't know. What do you think? I don't think so. I don't know. What do you guys think? Because I find it highly ironic, Dad, that you were so successful at short sales for so many people, yet your short sale didn't go through.
Yeah.
How many people did you provide a wonderful service for? And it was successful. But that's so wrong, because you guys jumped through every freaking hoop Chase made you do, above and beyond. How many times did you try to fill out their packet for modifications and everything else? How was it?
It's going to be interesting to actually see then when it gets to that place, how that system is in play. And, how is that going to benefit me, the consumer?
Yep. Well, here's where sorry.
I think we're going to just see a continued flood of properties, because people get excited whenever they can move up and whenever they can buy, when they have money, but they soon run out of money, and they soon don't make the amount of money that they thought that they were going to make, because eventually everything will balance out.
Mm-hmm.
And now they're stuck. They're stuck with a whole bunch of properties. They're stuck with people who aren't paying rents. We're just coming through that with the pandemic. I think we're right there at the cliff of something happening, and it forces realtors to become very creative. I mean, one of the things I was going to mention to you, Josh, and maybe that's something to talk about at some other time, is that a lot of the real estate companies are making those adjustments now, where whenever they list, they don't list a buyer's commission anymore. They're just the buyers, and buyer's agents have to negotiate themselves. And now they're able to lower the listing fees on the list side, to 2.5 or 2 to 3% or something like that. And it makes them sound competitive, but they have, on the other side, the buyer's agents and the buyers have to become accustomed to negotiating something that they've never had to do for a long time. And,
Josh, the other thing that I'm curious about, and maybe somebody like Keith would be one to help us out, but because of the increase now in interest rate, it makes me wonder from the mortgage perspective, what kind of programs will they and the government come up with to help buyers? What are going to be incentives? What are going to be the different programs that are going to be available?
Yeah, well, that's a good segue, because I wrote down here, as we enter that new market, builder incentives, but you got lender incentives, and then at the same time, talk about back to the 80s. What was the most popular tool you guys had to use to sell a home in the 80s?
Interest only, an interest only loan
With an owner carry,
or
seller carry.
a seller carry.
Because since wraparounds can't happen anymore, there's only so many options you have. So you got, this is interesting, but notice, okay, so we're almost done, guys. Thank you very much for your patience and the discussion. This is awesome. So distressed sales, though, although they're puny, notice from December to now, that's doubling.
Yeah.
Okay. It's still small, but it's doubling. Okay. Actual sales, short sales, 2, 9. So total of 11, 18. Okay. It's going up, and it's not, this is where all of us from 2008, 9, 10, this is what I'm going to keep an eye on moving forward, because this is probably going to go up. I don't want to say exponentially, but you know what I mean. It's going to be another, I'm guessing if these things continue over the next 6 months, this is going to be the next hockey stick.
you know what it is, Josh?
Yeah.
Marilyn and all of those who are involved with real estate in 09 and 08. Remember there was this thought that the government or certain buyers had stored all of these short sales in their banks, and they weren't going to release them until somebody's going to say they're going to finally release all of these hundreds of thousands of short sales during this crash or something.
Yep. Yeah. They've been holding on to them just for the next, exactly. But look at this. Okay, so this is where we've come though, 36 down to 28. And they're saying that, I mean, it's not saying anything actually. I mean, we've dropped, but I think this is going to be the last of the drops we're kind of seeing. That's it. So what this gets to is now they get into a deep analysis of inventory. Okay. Overall, active supply is up 99% year over year and 40% in just over 30 days. Drop in demand is fueling the increase in supply. Listings under contract are down 15.6% year over year. One of the Cromford charts I find interesting is the one from 2005. Okay. So remember, the supply just was ridiculous as it came up, but notice the angle. Okay. This is actually almost steeper on certain levels, and it's nowhere near the volume, but we're starting off just a little bit, I guess, monthly ahead. This is why we were kind of coming back to, again, the cost of living, the cushions people have. How much room do you see on there for savings, emergencies? Okay.
Yeah.
So the inflation rate, housing costs make up roughly 40%. What were we saying? You said 25%, 20%, and I said up to 30. Right now we're pushing 40. Okay, look at that. Inflation, 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 inflation. It's just, this is insane. This is insane. Interest rates up 2% in the last, almost 3% in the last year, right? 300,000 mortgage risen from $1,265 in December to $1,800 today.
Yeah, the programs that people can use to buy their homes over the last 10 years or 12 years has actually increased to allow them to become more indebted at a greater ratio than ever before. So they were excited to buy that house, but with things happening right now, they'd be best probably to sell right away and figure out a way to kind of buffer the next couple of years. But a lot of people bought houses over the last 10 or 12 years that historically have never been able to buy because we've lowered the qualifications.
Yep. Okay, so just want to share some good news before we kind of wrap up as well with our final little talk. So as every week I pop on about the Arizona Commerce Authority, and why did this one not pop up? Hold on. Where did last week's go? Did I accidentally erase it? Oh no. That's not good. Okay. Shoot. Okay, this week's, I can't believe I erased it on accident.
Oh.
Hey.
Darn it. Okay.
Hey, shut there. I'll get my clothes on.
Yeah. Boogers. Okay. I don't want to try to find it in my junk or other email. There's been the main thing that I remember from it was the semiconductor place out, that's still growing. There were two other companies that opened nearby, and they're expanding, and they were to the tune of, I think it was about 1,200 more jobs and over 1 million more square feet of space for development. And let's see here, programs, big ideas, business first, news. Okay, so was this the one? If you guys don't get that Friday email, as Marty was talking about forever and tries to get everybody to do, it's so good. It's so good. And it sums up everything on here pretty well. But overall, footprints, program. Is this? Okay, I'm not going to try to find it. But nonetheless, that's the one thing that Arizona is, you were mentioning, Ruth, that Arizona is the bubble. It's its own economy. You know? And so right now, our big saving grace that I could see is the fact that there's so much expansion, so much growth, so much business, so much development going on, that it would be very hard for that to dry up. It's not like the Taiwan place is just going to go like, oh, well, crap, and let's move. We're moving back to our country, whatever. That's not going to happen. Right. So I guess to sum this up, what do you guys think? Because I'm hoping, I know there's going to be a fall. I know it's going to level off. I'm hoping it's not going to be a crash, but I agree with Dad that it's going to be somewhat small to medium. Okay. I don't think it's going to be 40%. I think in the next year or two, we're definitely going to see a fall of 10 to 15%. That's my prediction. Okay. 12 months from now, I'm guessing we're going to be at about 10, 15% below where we're at right now. So let's call your $500,000 house $425.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm hoping that the interest rates, because our first house, when Sabrina and I bought ours, it was 7% interest rate.
Yeah.
You know, it's not out of line. You guys, when I helped you refi yours, it was way high, way too high at that point. And it was still like, what, 7.5%, 8% almost, I think, when you refied 47 at that time. Right. So I'm not thinking that the interest rates are out of line. I don't think they're crazy. You know, historically speaking, they're coming back to normal.
But people are spoiled.
Yep.
So
Yeah,
they that
Sorry.
10% or 3% interest rate. When we bought our first house, it was 10.5. We refinanced it down to 8. We were like, woohoo. Yeah.
And during the Great Depression, it was at 16, 17%.
Oh yeah. Well, we bought a truck in 1982 at 17%. So yeah.
And we just finished doing a kind of a refi on ours, and we got it for 3.25.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at it now that was just 3 months ago.
Mhm.
3 months ago, that our payment today would be almost double of what it would be if we had closed today.
That's right.
Versus 3 or 4 months ago.
Yep. Okay,
Exactly.
I found the email. So here's what it was. Arizona Growing CSO Program Partnership, blah blah blah. So there's 2 big companies coming to Phoenix there. Phoenix Business Journal, Growing Arizona Series highlights the state's diversity economy, how we've built up everything on our own and we're just resilient. Now, here's the big one. Lithium-ion battery manufacturer Core Power unveiled plans to double the size of its factory in Buckeye, significantly increasing its investment in Arizona. New plans include a 2 million square foot factory and a $1.25 billion investment. Phoenix was ranked in the top emerging startup ecosystems, 7th in the United States, with a bunch of these other companies just growing startups, like exploding. Arizona was one of only 8 states to see a surge in higher education enrollment since 2019, with a growth rate of over 4.5%. So these jobs that are coming to Arizona are not low income. You know, Arizona is becoming, I like to say it, we're becoming a smart state. You know, yeah. So that being said, final thoughts.
Thought it was interesting today. I'd hate to see the prices go down, but I guess they are.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see.
I'm not going anywhere anyway, if they were higher or lower.
Yeah.
Well, we're in the proud presence of 2 people that own their homes. Dad, Mom, like Marilyn and Ruth, both of them own their own home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mom. Sorry, you're not hearing.
Yeah, we should have sold that home about 2 months ago. Bought an RV, lived in that, kept our check, right?
But you know, I guess the bottom line is, say, like to our buyers or even to our sellers, it's kind of like, all right, so here's your option. You know, this is kind of where the market's at.
Mm-hmm.
This is what's kind of predicted. And so are you willing to risk, you know, what you think might happen versus maybe kind of where we're at right now? And
Yeah.
so, you know, again, what are they willing to risk?
Yeah.
I would love to hear that in action. Mr. and Mrs. Buyer. Now you can place an offer today, but what are you willing to risk? Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you can list your home today, but what are you truly willing to risk?
Yeah.
That's
Well, I
not,
think
that's
it depends.
Sorry.
It depends on what situation they're in. You know, like if a seller is being transferred to Charlotte, North Carolina, then they have to sell their home.
Motivation changes
Yes.
risk tolerance.
It does. Yeah. And so people that don't have to sell their homes, people that were throwing their homes on the market, you know, slapping a price up there and seeing what would stick, they don't have to sell. So, and they're probably in the category with a lower payment anyhow. So it'll be, that's right. Yeah. The risk will be, do they have to sell? Do they need, do they have to buy? Can they afford to buy? Can they afford to buy with the inflation? And it's not coming down. So, you have to factor that into your next year's worth of house payments and gas payments and kids in school and groceries. Can I feed my kids and still have this house payment? So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the next 3 months brings.
Yep. So all the investors out there, I would finish up now and then price your homes to slightly undercut everybody and just get rid of them. And that would be my prediction. That would be my best suggestion is right now, find out your what you said, like what is your minimum profit you're willing to take and undercut everybody and hope it's above that. And take what you can get as we speak. As far as a buyer goes, right now, that's going to be the toughest people because with interest rates, selection, and everything, right now, it probably be, how do I say this? If they buy right now, that's better. But if they could possibly hold off for about 8 months, then I think they're going to be in a better boat. I honestly do. But does that mean that they might be able to buy now and refi? I don't know, because everybody's banked on home prices going up. The savior of everyone over the last 3 years has been, don't worry, home prices will go up. By the time you close, you'll be able to basically sell and not lose any money. Oh, you lost your job, sell your home. You could not work for 6 months. Like
yeah.
Is that the feds are still talking?
What?
The feds are still talking about adjusting the interest rate even more. And they're talking about going up again.
Yeah.
So that's, it's going to create an underlying stress and anxiety in the marketplace.
Yeah. So
Ruth, if you go to the RV, don't forget we have a space over in Las Cruces.
Okay. Yeah.
Right on the Rio Grande.
There, right?
The river's running. It's nice and pretty.
Yeah. All right. Okay, guys, I've got to go take some pictures of a new house we're getting into management, so I'm out of here.
All right. Thank you very much for your time, everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. This was awesome. Have an awesome day.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.